John Terrett is live for us in Bonnie Carey Spillway in Norco, Louisiana. And John, let me ask you first, this spillway, how does it protect New Orleans?
Well, I'm glad you asked about it because it's really interesting to find out, Anna. And let me take you on a tour, shall I? This is one of the two spillways that they've opened in order to preserve New Orleans and Baton Rouge. It has, however, unfortunately meant a risk of flooding in the country areas. However, this has been here about 80 years now. There are around 350 gates, and about 330 of them are presently opened. And what you're looking at there is Old Man River in the background, and that's about 316,000 cubic feet of water a second, Arnan, coming through there. And a quick mental calculations, because I could do that sort of stuff, tells me that's about 9,000 cubic meters of water coming through. And we're going to get Charles, our cameraman, to pan straight past me and down this 6-mile stretch down towards Lake Pontchartrain. Normally what you're looking at would be pretty much parkland, and there'd be people there cycling and having picnics and doing all the things that they might do in the countryside, but not now because it's fully flooded. And so that is where we are at the Bonnie Carey Spillway, and as a result of this being opened and the Morganza Spillway being opened much further upstream, New Orleans is almost certainly saved. Better never say never, I suppose, but it almost certainly is saved. However, country areas are now at risk, as you know, Arno.
John, were authorities being a little bit overcautious when they were talking about the damage that this flooding would cause? Because so far we've not seen the kind of damage that we thought would take place.
No, certainly people on the ground who live in the country areas to the west of Baton Rouge and the west of New Orleans, who've been under mandatory evacuation orders in many circumstances, they're now saying, look, we're not going to go until the water is lapping on our drives and our lawns. And they seem convinced that it won't actually be as bad as was at first predicted. One of the reasons for that, incidentally, is that when they all opened the Morganza Spillway last Saturday, and we had those dramatic pictures of all the water spewing out, turns out that there was a real drought in this part of the world, and the very dry conditions, the parched land, has soaked up far more of the water than any of the scientists had predicted. So the flood is dramatically slowed. Now, whether it gets to the towns that are forecast to be flooded is anyone's guess. It could happen next week, and a lot of people that we've met are not taking any chances of moving out anyway. But certainly no great dramatic influx of water, not yet anyway.
And what about conditions north of you for many people there in places like the port of Natchez?
Natchez is in Mississippi. It's a very important port. This is an important port. The port of Louisiana, which is nearby, is very important. And then you get to Natchez. And Natchez, they've closed it, basically. There's a river lane there, a shipping lane, and it's closed. And I think that there are some ports around that city which have actually been closed off. And the reason for that is that the water is still yet to crest in that part of the world. Although it's crested here in New Orleans now, up in Vicksburg, Mississippi and Natchez, it has yet to crest. And what they're really worried about, what they're more concerned about than anything, is that if they have barges and big ships on the river there, the weight of those things will add to the pressure on the Mississippi, which is already swollen, and add to the pressure on the levees. And that's what they don't want. So they've closed it to traffic for the time being. I have no idea how much this is going to cost the economy, but it's obviously going to hurt somewhat. Can't be good. The longer it goes on, the worse it'll be too.
Okay, thanks, John. John Terrett there from Louisiana.